Welcome back to Snetterton for the second race of the weekend here of the BRSCC Alfa Romeo Championship. Thankfully, we've got one more car towards the front row of the grid. And speaking of the grid, we'll be able to take you through it right now. So, Roger McMahon on the front row of the grid with Chris Oxborough. It's now Ray Foley on Ray 2 with no Andy Robinson, sadly. The Twin Spark cars have Tom Hill and Andy Hancock on the front row again from Potts and Browning. Then Richard Stevens and Simon Cresswell, Stacey Dennis and Andy Inman. Andrew Burke and Richard Ford ahead of Paul Hollywood and Michael Tideman. And then it's Mark Hope, Jeremy Chiltern, Paul Webster and Geffen Llewellyn. So, same procedure as before, 20 minutes. And the three cars ahead of the grid of McMahon, Oxborough and Foley will go first. The 5-second board is up. Red lights for the modified and power trophy cars. Lights out, and they are away. It's a bit of a stumbling start for Foley, but he gets away. And a good getaway initially from Oxborough as they make the charge down towards turn 1. As the top three make their break into Richie's corner. Look back because here comes the cavalry. It's the Twin Spark cars as they go side by side up towards turn 1 for the first time. It looks as though it's the number 19 of Andy Hancock who will turn in first. It's Hill in second place. A small nudge from Simon Cresswell in the back of Stephen Potts, who is now going around the outside of Richard Stevens and up towards the right hand of the Montreal hairpin. Under brakes for the first time. Hancock is your leader in the Twin Sparks from Hill, then from Potts. Cresswell over the curb on the exit and has still got Richard Stevens for company. And the question now is, Andy Hancock has the lead, but how long will he be able to stay there and fend off a very rapid Tom Hill? Tom Hill, 19 years old, he's a motorsport engineering student and he's raced all sorts of cars and experiences. He's raced a Citroen Saxo, he's driven Formula Palmer Jaguars, he's driven a Mazda MX-5 at Donington. He knows racing and he's also going for the lead, it seems, into Agostini's. But the top 5 or 6 are in pretty much line astern at this point as they funnel their way through. The purple car, there's Andy Inman, car number 80, in mid-pack. And this battle for the lead looks to be intensifying pretty quickly as Tom Hill is going with Andy Hancock straight away. Cresswell tries to make a move at Potts again. He did that in race 1, trying to get up the inside, and there was a bit of contact. Looks as though that Cresswell has learnt his lesson this time around, as Tom Hill goes for the lead at Williams. So that was a bit of a daring move to get the lead early on. Hancock may get a good exit on the run down the Bentley Straight for the first time in this second race, and Stephen Potts is going with them early already. Up towards the front of the field, and Oxborough leads, but it's Ray Foley in second place in the Power Trophy car. So fantastic to see the sadly only Power Trophy car in the field in this second race, because Andy Robinson with further engine troubles, which unfortunately saw him miss the second start as well. And to have him in amongst the two modified class cars is pretty good going for him. He's vastly experienced his Ray as he just about fends off Roger McMahon, who looked towards the inside. He's raced plenty of cars. He raced a 156 last year in the Power Trophy, but switching to the more compact 147. Here's your Twin Spark contingent ending their first lap. Still Tom Hill ahead of Hancock and Potts. And there's your front three as they head across the line. Twin Spark duel all in a line, 5 alive for the lead as they come towards it. In a row, Hill, Hancock, Potts, Cresswell and Richard Stevens. Up towards Richie's for the second time. Turning their way through the right hand of Richie's. It's one of the faster corners on the circuit. Very tricky because if you go in too hot, you've got a ton of runoff area out there and it can cost you a serious amount of time. Stacey Dennis currently running in 6th and being chased down by the number 41 of James Browning in the mix as well. Andy Hancock himself is also vastly experienced. He runs a team that races in the 24-hour series, and their team actually had a moment where they scored a podium in the Britcar 24 hours, so he knows motorsport. He's no stranger to it, and he very much enjoys being a competitor as much as a team boss, and he's certainly enjoying second place here. And of course he will have sights for the lead, but the likes of Stephen Potts and Simon Cresswell are certainly going to have designs on that too. They're not going to let him get away too easy. Super 7 at the front are starting to pull away from 8th place Andy Inman. Also there is silver GTV of Andrew Burke and car 86. And back to the battle that's going on here for 4th position. Company 4th at the moment is Simon Cresswell and the orange number 6, and he still has for company the 91 of Richard Stevens in the 145 at the moment. There's Ray Foley still holding strong in second place and keeping Christopher Oxborough in his vision at the moment. Through the bomb hole for the second time. And it does seem pretty incredible to mention this, that two 147s which are going into combat right now through Coram, and Roger McMahon, just like that, has a slightly better handling car, so much so that he can power his way past and manoeuvre into second place at the expense of Ray Foley through Coram. And now, exiting Murray's, he's going to try and make designs on the lead if he can, as they come towards the line. But I think you'll find is Ray Foley's actually coming back at McMahon down the straight, and despite being in a separate class, Ray Foley is not afraid to snatch second place back again. So McMahon with it all to do once more. He looked pretty tasty through Rich's corner. And here are your twin spark leaders. Tom Hill once again taking his customary position at the front, as he has done all weekend. There's just scrap for fourth. Cresswell in the orange number 6. Stevens in the 91 and the hatchback 145. And further, as we mentioned, is the reigning Power Trophy champion, and it's pleasing to see his car being able to fight amongst the modified cars and keep with them, although he seems to have maintained his pace in the early stages. But right now the two modified cars look pretty serious in battling amongst each other, because McMahon catches up on the twisty bits on the inner part of the circuit through Agostini and Hamilton's, closing under brakes here at Oggie's, the dogleg right-hander that takes them back around towards the Bentley straight. He's almost thinking about trying to look on the inside of Oxborough. He's close enough, agonisingly close in fact. Look at this, he's really monstering the back of the 77, but he knows that now as they get onto the straight, he doesn't have the torque and the acceleration of that 75, and it just pulls away from him. And as a driver watching that, it's so frustrating. Twin spark class back again. Top 3 remains as it was. Hill from Hancock from Potts. Through Brundle and Nelson's once again towards the end of another lap. Potts is keeping Hancock honest. The scrap for fourth behind is looking pretty exciting as well. Still headed by Simon Cresswell. Stephen Potts has finished second and third many times. He's desperate for a victory. He joined the Alphas 2 years ago. He wants to become a regular podium botherer, in his words, this season. His only silverware last year was a third place, and that was at Brands Hatch, so he wants to try and add to his trophy cabinet. Fourth place battles coming across the line again. Cresswell, Richard Stevens. And then behind them, of course, was the number 41 of James Browning, with Stacey Dennis having a very strong weekend so far, hovering around the top 5. And the Alfa Romeo Championship with plenty of drivers and teams that can help you out to get started. And it's a very good championship for those who want to race a car that's got an association with a brand that's got a lot of motorsport pedigree and history. Alfa Romeo, of course, a brand that's featured in Formula 1 and touring cars and even world rallying and sports cars. But in more recent years, Alfa Romeos have been prominent on the touring car scene, in British touring cars and world touring cars. Of course, they had the very fearsome 155 DTM cars we mentioned earlier on, which were in DTM and the ITC Championship. So Alfa Romeo is no stranger to motorsport, and they've certainly tasted their fair share of trophies and podiums and success a lot over the years. And it's great to see a championship that still honours that mark and celebrates all things great about it. And at the moment, the battle for second place is starting to distance itself a little bit, because Andy Hancock for the moment seems to have the measure on Stephen Potts. Down the Bentley straight once again towards the braking zone here. They have to turn left through Brundle and get it stopped for Nelson. It's a much tighter right-hander. Now this battle for fourth is intensifying, because we've got on the left James Browning in the 41 trying to snatch the position from Simon Cresswell, who's held it since the start. But there is a bit of a queue forming behind him, and James Browning is serious about this, because he's got the eyes on, lights ablaze through bomb hole. almost boring a hole in the boot lid of the 156 as they turn through Coram. It's a very tricky braking zone here to get it right, but if you do, it's such a sweet exit. As Richard Stevens is in pursuit of these two in front, and also have to keep in his mirrors because Stacey Dennis is doing a grand job to keep in tow. Now the black and white flag is out for driving standards. We have to think that's possibly for track limits. Fortunately the board obstructs the view that we can't see exactly who it is that's getting the black and white flag. Through Ritchie's once again, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th all together. And up towards Montreal once again, and Cresswell gets it under brakes, but he misses the apex almost entirely. That may cost him the position if he's not careful. A better exit from Browning, who tucked right to the inside, but Cresswell was unable to pull enough momentum through the corner to keep his nose in front for the time being. But you can see that he's pushing because he knows that James Browning is there just trying to distract him with the headlights. To put him looking in his rearview mirrors. Is up the inside now for Agostini, 4th position. Cresswell has to capitulate, he has to yield. That was a very bold pass that Browning made. He wasn't sure if he was going to make it or not, but he forced Cresswell to think twice about turning in towards the apex. Cresswell wants to get the move done again at Hamilton's, but Browning sweeps across and that's the move completed. So risk and reward there for James Browning. It was very much the reward for 4th position. It was almost a last minute pass, but he decided to throw caution to the wind and it seems to have really paid off. Now then, battle for the modified and overall lead is still raging. Roger McMahon is once again keeping Christopher Oxborough within his sights. It was role reversal last time around because it was McMahon who was the one that was being the hunted by Oxborough. It's now being the hunter. He's certainly trying to hunt him down into Murray's. He may pull alongside under braking, forcing Oxborough to go defensive. They turn the way through Murray's and Oxborough covers the line, forces McMahon over the curbs, and he won't have appreciated that, but he'll understand that Oxborough wanted to be defensive, so he'll live to fight another day. Scrap for 4th once again through Bomholt. It's this time Browning ahead of Cresswell as we saw, but now thanks to the battles, Stevens and Dennis have been able to reel themselves in. Up through Coram, through Murray's again. Browning, Cresswell, Stevens and Dennis in that order, quick as you like. And now the long run down the pit straight to complete another lap. Dennis just moving out to put herself in Stevens' mirrors, trying to make him look twice to try and distract. But at the moment, nothing doing. Of course, the 91 there, Richard Stevens, sponsored by Cheshire Alpha, which I believe is his own business, so it's good to see him keeping the Alpha legacy ahead. Oxborough still in command of this race overall from McMahon in 2nd place. And they pulled substantially away from Ray Foley. There he is in the background. And it's quite fascinating that a 75 that's been built from a production car into a race-ready track weapon is holding off a purpose-built 147. And with the car so evenly matched, it's a fantastic battle, and McMahon really did gain through the corners that you could see there. But watch again on the straights as Oxborough just puts his foot down and simply can just drive away thanks to the torque and the power from that supercharger. They move into another lap, approaching Ritchie's once again. Under brakes, pitch it right. And McMahon has to keep the power on, he has to keep the pace on here. Keep applying that pressure, keep attacking, and hope that Oxborough makes a mistake at some point. Otherwise, it'll be a 2nd place. Tom Hill still in command of the Twin Sparks. Still the duel for 2nd goes on between Hancock and Potts. Tom Hill already staking a claim to be a favourite possibly for the championship. It's very early days, of course, but the first couple of rounds sometimes can always be telling in terms of who's got the outright pace. Simon Cresswell does not look finished for 4th place. He turns his way through Ritchie's. He looks imminently set to try and claim it back again. Still with Stevens and Dennis in the mix. Up towards Montreal again once more. Simon Cresswell closing under brakes and hits the back of James Browning's 41. And I think that may have caused some damage because he slows on the exit. Through goes Stevens, through goes Dennis. Now if that move was stuck, he would have had to give it back anyway, lest he'd serve the penalty. But that's compromised him somewhat because he has dropped 2 spots. We talked about risk and reward. That was a risk that didn't pay off, unfortunately. So now, at the moment, James Browning can be unchallenged for 4th, while Dennis is trying to get her way around Stevens here at Agostini. She was moving this way and that in the braking zone. But nothing doing. Tries it again up towards Hamilton's, but Stevens is wise to that one and has the line covered as they try and get up towards Oggies. Dennis closing under braking again, but the 145 staying calm. Of course, these cars are technically part of the same bloodline, if you like. The 145 was the predecessor to the 147, and it's the 147's older brother that's staying in front at this point in time. And Dennis will have the slipstream down the Bentley straight. She moves out to put herself in the mirrors again to just let Richard know that she's still there. She's still looking to try and take that 5th position away. And Simon Cresswell, you see in the background there, thanks to the contact, really has fallen away quite a bit. Looked as though back at the hairpin he was fishing for gears after the contact, but thankfully got it going again. Either that or it may have knocked the engine off and he had to get it refired. Now this battle going on here, this is between Geffen Llewellyn in the 2 and the Inman in the 80, the purple Alfa in the middle there, and the 86 of Andrew Bork that we saw battling earlier on with one of our onboard cameras. And they're in a scrap of their own, and that's towards the bottom end of the top 10 in the Twin Spark Cup, so they continue to fight. Back to our battle for 5th position as James Browning is putting himself at quite a distance from these two. This battle looks set to go all the way to the flag. There's not much more of the race to go. So Stacey Dennis wants to get herself up another spot into the top 5. She's going to have to try and make the move soon. Moves out again to try and think about a move under braking at Agostini's. Nothing doing there. But it is impressive in the Twin Spark Cup with a car that's as simple to drive as one with a twin spark engine, that they're able to pick up the pace pretty quickly and to adapt to motorsport in such a very capable car. And Dennis again trying to make a lunge down towards Oggies, but Richard Stevens just seems to be wise and seems to be able to cover off every single advance that Stacey Dennis makes. So it looks as though that she'll have to go back to the drawing board, and getting pretty ragged through Williams, missing the apex entirely. Gets it gathered up eventually, but she's lost a couple of car lengths as a result, and that will see her potentially out of the frame to challenge for 5th position. Last lap ball goes out for Christopher Oxborough and Roger McMahon. This is the last chance for the 147 to try and close in. Remember, last time out it was role reversal. It was Oxborough doing the chasing, and McMahon was the one in front, but now it's Oxborough's turn to experience the chase. And McMahon knows that his car is stronger in the corners and under braking. So let's see how he can close in here. Gathers a small bit of time through Montreal. It looks a tiny bit closer, visibly, between the pair. Through Palmer's, gaining time corner by corner. Good run through the left-hander, and I wonder if there's going to be a chance for McMahon to close once again under braking. This is a very big braking zone at Agostini, and he may reel in quite a lot of time. Oxborough just struggling, I think, a little bit on the exit, and McMahon is trying to close it in, and he really is caught up a lot of time here through Hamilton's. He's getting very close indeed. This could be his last chance up towards Oggies. Makes the move, but Oxborough has it covered. McMahon locks up, couldn't find a way through, and unless he can keep close here, he may get another chance, possibly through Williams. And he does close, but tries, he can't get there, and now he has to sit and watch Oxborough, because McMahon may put his foot down, but Oxborough has that extra torque and just using the power of the engine better to pull away. That move at Oggies may possibly have been his last chance, his last opportunity to make it 2 wins from 2. But Oxborough had a very unfortunate scenario at the end of the race when his throttle stuck open, and thankfully that's been rectified. It's been pretty much trouble free. He's had the advances of Roger McMahon in this race, but at this time it looks as though that Oxborough has got it all but sorted. Up towards Murray's for the final time. Nice and steady, no dramas through the left-hander. McMahon will close, but it looks as though it's going to be too late because up towards the timing line, but Christopher Oxborough puts his foot down in the number 77 Alfa 75. Checker flag is ready, the sprint towards the line. Chris Oxborough makes it a win in race number 2 from Roger McMahon in second place. A great battle all weekend between the pair and a winner piece to take away from the weekend. I look towards the top of the screen because that black dot that's coming towards the timing line is going to be your one and only Power Trophy car. He'll take the maximum points. Ray Foley fought hard in the early stages and gets third place overall. And then here comes, just as ready as you like, our 3 podium finishes in the Twin Spark Cup. And after a success in race 1, up towards the checkered flag will come Tom Hill to win race 2 in the class. Lights ablaze and lights flashing in celebration. Andy Hancock makes it second place, and Stephen Potts makes it third to round out the podium. A bold pass from James Browning in 4th position puts him well inside the top 5, and on the run to the line in 5th position it will be Richard Stevens, who just holds out from Stacey Dennis. And Simon Cresswell, the contact pushed him back, but he holds on for 7th place in class. There's the man that no one could beat in race number 2, and Roger McMahon tried as hard as he could, but in the end the Alfa 75 proved he had what it takes in race number 2. So the race result to confirm it: Oxborough wins from McMahon with Ray Foley in 3rd position, Tom Hill wins the Twin Spark Cup from Andy Hancock and Stephen Potts, James Browning 4th in class ahead of Richard Stevens and Stacey Dennis, with Tom Hill down to Stacey Dennis completing 1st to 6th in the class. Simon Cresswell 7th and 10th overall ahead of Andy Inman, Andrew Bork, Geffen Llewellyn, Mark Hope, Michael Tiedemann, Jeremy Chilton, Paul Webster and Richard Ford. And Rachel, how's our podium finishes?
Congratulations guys, quite a race you had going there, particularly at Murray's. You're trying to fend each other off. Chris, first of all, congratulations on the win. Why don't you talk us through how the race felt for you?
Very hard actually. I mean, I knew from Barry yesterday that his car's very good under braking. I've got slightly warped discs, so every time I brake my vision goes a bit blurry, but I knew that I had to basically go down the straights as quick as possible, leave enough gap so that he couldn't kind of shove it down the inside. And you say at Murray's he managed to sort of shove one down the inside. We had a little bit of a rough and tumble, but I think we all came out to live another day.
Chris, you managed to gain a place during the early part of the race. How did you get that off on Ray?
Well, this car doesn't half get off the line. Being rear wheel drive, it's really good, and also being supercharged, it's got loads of torque. So although it's down on horsepower compared to most of the cars, you can just ride the wave of torque as you come off the line. So it just sprints off the line, as we saw yesterday, because I was a row behind you and still managed to kind of get into the first corner first. So it's a great starting car. It's just a bit old, and so it's not quite as good on the corners as on the twisty bits anyway.
Yes, Ray, you did seem to be having some fun, particularly at Murray's, but were you gaining on corners and losing out on straights? How did it feel out there?
No, it's frustrating when somebody's got so much faster car in the straight and they're pulling away from you, and you know you have to do it all in the twisty stuff. And at one stage in the end of Murray's I thought, I might be able to go around his outside, and I braked really late and I turned in, but no, and he just touched me and I pulled in behind him, and we were literally touching each other through the twisty stuff every lap, but it was really good, really enjoyable, really good fun.
Well, it made for an exciting race to watch, so congratulations on second, back to back with yesterday's win. So good weekend start for the season for you.
Yeah, you couldn't wish for better. So Silverstone now is the next outing, so hopefully we'll be good there as well.
Well, best of luck to both of you for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ray, on third place, keeping your third place from the grid start. Bit of a lonely race by the look of it for you in the end.
It was a bit, yeah. So unfortunately, the only other car in the Power Trophy this weekend had an engine problem yesterday, so didn't get to start. I didn't get to start yesterday either, so it wasn't a very good Power Trophy yesterday. But okay, we went today. The car's going really well, and I managed to keep with the modifieds for a while. They left me after a few laps, but I had Tom Hill keeping me honest right from the behind as well, so yeah, it was good. It was good for me. Just getting used to a new car, and it's gone very well, and Roger Evans prepared it for me, and I'm well pleased with what he's done, so it's great.
Well, a clean and uneventful race for you means that you can go home with a free conscience and just get your head down for Silverstone.
Just have to wash it and away we go again, which is great. Yeah, so yeah, very pleased. No damage, no anything wrong, so it's great. So yeah, looking forward to Silverstone now. I like that circuit, so we'll go and have a good game there.
So, a successful weekend for the opening rounds of the Alfa Romeo Championship for 2016. And of course, class wins for Roger McMahon, Christopher Oxborough and Ray Feldier-Peace. And of course, 2 successful races for Tom Hill in the Twin Spark Cup. The championship now moves across to Silverstone in the early part of May. You can keep up to date with everything that's happening with the championship via alfaracer.com, and also follow them on Facebook and on Twitter, and also keep track with the club's activities by heading to brscc.co.uk, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also the YouTube channel. So, from myself, Scott Woodwiss, and Rachel Thorne, and everyone here, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for the Alfa Romeo Championship. Bye for now.